The most sought-after trophy in fishing was won 12 months ago by Andy Jennings from Yorkshire, who also pocketed the £25,000 winner-takes-all cheque. Today, 16 of the UK's top match anglers are here at Hallcroft Fisheries in Nottinghamshire to discover who will replace Andy Jennings as the winner of FishOMania III. They've made the draw. Peg position's of course vital over 5 hours of fishing, where the winner will be the angler with the heaviest total catch. Among the favourites, Peter Plant Jr. from Stafford. There's Dave Pimlott of Manchester, Steve Walker of Backley, and the youngest competitor, Steve Ringer, just 20 years of age. By contrast, on peg 12, Mervyn Haskins is the oldest competitor. He's 56. But look at Ken Farrell from Chingford. His third final in a row. The odds against that, they say, 1 million to 1. Let's have a look at where those peg positions are around the lake. The experts say, well, the low numbers, very low numbers, 1, 2 and 3, and the very high numbers, 14, 15 and 16, are the best, due to the way the wind's blowing. 3 types of carp in there: bream, roach, perch and rudd. They weigh in every half hour, so let's join our MC at the start, Alan Hughes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the scene is set for FishOMania III. 16 of the top fishermen in the country competing for that first prize of £25,000. Gentlemen, the very best of luck to you all. Cast your rods and let FishOMania III commence.
And so the action is underway. And well, these are tense moments, important moments, I would guess, as well for all 16 of these anglers. Keith Arthur's alongside me now. Keith, what's going on now? Obviously baiting, but...
Yeah, it's an initial feed of ground bait and bits and pieces. Last year ground bait wasn't allowed, but that's been introduced to the rules this year, and it's definitely encouraged more silverfish to feed. And what the anglers will be doing is introducing some cereal feed by means of those cups on the end of their pole. There'll also be some casters going out, and one of my favourites, good old chopped worm.
Why wasn't ground bait allowed last year then?
It's just one of the fishery rules. It's always been part of the fishery here at Hallcroft. There's been no ground bait, but since the introduction of a lot more bream and roach, they've responded really well to just a small amount of ground bait, and it's been put into the rules, and it's definitely been a good thing.
Now, one of the things that interested and amused me was some of the forms of bait that they use. For instance, sweet corn and luncheon meat, and it's not any special sort of luncheon meat. It's good old plum rose and the likes, isn't it?
Oh, well, sometimes you can even buy proper angler's luncheon meat now that's dyed and flavoured. You can buy strawberry luncheon meat. How would you fancy that?
Yeah. What about the tactics that are involved here? For instance, if a peg isn't catching fish, Keith, will they change baits? Change perhaps the area they're fishing in?
Yeah, they'll change baits and they'll change lines. I would actually get myself 3 lines sorted out here. One would be quite close to the bank, probably 5 or 6 metres out. There's a distinct shelf and then it flattens. And I'd have some bait at the bottom of that shelf. Then I'd look to establish a feeding area probably 9, 10 or 11 metres out. And I'd look to put some bait a bit further, maybe with a swim feeder, so I can chop and change and leave fish feeding on each area, so there's always something to go back to.
There are some shots at the moment then of the live action here at the Hallcroft Fisheries. It's FishOMania III, and that's peg 16, one of the favoured pegs here at FishOMania III. Let's pop over now and have a word with George Gavin.
I'm on peg 6 with Bryn Wignall, and this is a spooky story, let me tell you. Bryn was born on the 6th of the 6th, 1966. He was on table 6 last night at the dinner. He's drawn peg number 6 here. He was 18 to 1 to win this, which is 3 sixes. I think you might finish 6th overall, though, Bryn.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
How's it going so far?
Not too good, not too good. I've had 1 bite and that's it.
Just 1 bite so far? Looking for bream today?
Yeah, bream and little carp, I think.
You're not growing horns out your head yet, are you, anyway? I wish you all the best.
1966, that's a real coincidence because that's the same year that I was born as well. It's another fisherman's story, definitely a tall story if you believe that. There we are, out on peg number 6. That's Bryn Wignall, still waiting for his first bite. Big day for him as well. It really is actually a very pleasant day indeed here at the Hallcroft Fisheries now. You can see where we are, and the commentary position, by the way, right in the centre of the shot there on that island. That's where we're sitting, up on the scaffolding, and thankfully the wind has stopped whistling through that scaffolding now. But the action, the important action, taking place on the banks on the far side. You can see pegs 14, 15, 16 on that far side of the bank. And behind them, the trade stands and various bits and pieces of entertainment. And there we are. That's a rather tasty selection of bait. What are we looking at there, Keith?
Menu fit for a king there. There's some pinkies in the tray at the right-hand side. In the middle is some mixed coloured maggots. There's casters there and the cereal ground bait, all important, with the cup in the middle of it. And that will be a very sweet-smelling, aromatic mixture based on breadcrumb with all sorts of lovely goodies in it too.
That's Peg 10 and Simon Young. Well, let's have a look. Here's the weigh-in taking place. First weigh-in of the day. This will happen every half hour, and we'll collate the results. You'll see who's in front, who's behind, who's close up. Let's hear what's happening down there now with Gary Norman.
Well, this is Dave Legg, who most of the people on my stretch are fishing the pole, but Dave Legg has persevered with the quiver tip, and there's only two. They're not going to weigh very much, but it's a start. There's a couple of little skimmer bream in there, I think. 3 ounces. He's on his way. It's a long way to go, but he's on his way. 3 ounces.
Welcome back to FishOMania 3, and after the first weigh-in, we've got our first leaderboard. Peter Lee has opened up a lead, 4 pounds 5 ounces. What a massive lead that is. 3 times finalist Ken Farrell, though, tapped in behind him, just 4 ounces ahead of Steve Walker. But look at the bottom of the table. 7 anglers yet to get a bite.
There he is, bricklayer, 50 years of age now, and he's landed the first decent-sized fish of the day here at the Hallcroft Fisheries. Peg 14 was one of those that was considered to be quite a favourable peg at the start of fishing here today. Well, it's proved that way so far, but a long, long, long way to go. Off to peg 15 now, shall we? Ken Farrell's fishing there. And Ken Farrell, well, it's his third successive FishOMania. He says, Keith, it's become an obsession with him. He's not alone, really, is he?
Oh, no, there's loads and loads of people that go in every qualifier, but Ken's record this year is absolutely phenomenal. He was second on the first heat on the Trent and Mersey, qualified, but he bought all the tickets, so he carried on going. Then he was third on the Bristol Avon, a long way from home. He's from East London. And then he went on, I can't remember, Basingstoke Canal, caught a great big carp and won that one. So he's gone home, Barry Hearn now has a direct debit straight into Ken Farrell's bank account. Sends him 500 quid a fortnight.
This is peg 5 now, which is Steve Ringer, and not a peg that you would have particularly fancied, Keith.
No, but look, it's got a good ripple on now. That ripple wasn't there when we predicted what would be good pegs and bad pegs. That peg didn't have, it was absolutely flat. There's a ripple on now, the fish are there. That was a decent skimmer, that was a pound plus fish.
That's peg 11, and Bob Shepherd there, adding, well, a small amount to his total catch at the moment. He has about 3 at the moment, we reckon, but, well, not much of a size, you'd have to say, Keith.
Again, they're good shoal fish, and there's going to be bigger fish moving in. The small fish will feed, the big fish will see them feeding, the noise of them feeding will encourage the big fish to move in, and once they start, you don't need many of those bream to get a really good weight.
Dave Pimlett's going well at the moment. Apparently he's had 5 or 6 in the last 20 minutes or so. Been fishing for 28 years. Comes from Manchester. There he is, 34 years of age, so he started as an absolute toddler. And his ambition in fishing, he says, is to win FishOMania. Is he the sort of fella, Bob, who could do?
They all could do. They've all studied exactly the way to fish Hallcroft. They'll have all been picking someone like Keith's brains, who comes in and fishes quite often, which is exactly what I'd do if I had to fish this. You'd get onto people who are experienced on the fishery and know it inside out, and you'd go off and practice those methods that you know are going to win. I think that's the difference between what these guys you might call professional anglers compared with a lot of other people. They'll go out and practice. Like a professional footballer, he doesn't just turn up on Saturday and play. He'll practice during the week, he'll learn his techniques. And these guys will have been doing this for weeks, on waters similar to this if they can't actually get to here. And make no mistake, that man will have been out practicing every technique he might think he needs today.
He says he has a very understanding wife called Wendy. I'm surprised that any of these fellas have wives.
I'm surprised he remembers her name. But
Yeah. Do they recognise them when they go home?
yeah, no, it's not quite that bad. These guys in some ways have an advantage. I mean, the guys who really never see their wives are these guys who go sort of carp fishing and go off for 3 days and stay in a little tent. These guys fish 5-hour matches and go back home, probably in an exhausted heap. And, you know, the wife probably has to wash them down along with the carp before they're allowed in the house, you know.
Here's the second weigh-in then. We've been fishing for an hour now. This is weigh-in number 2, remember? Every half hour there'll be a weigh-in, and we'll show you the leaderboard once the totals have been totted up. That was peg 13, and this is, well, we're out, I think, to, I'm not sure which peg this is, but fish aplenty there, you can see.
£2 odd there for Steve Michaels on 13. He's one of the very fancied anglers, and he travels with Dave Pimlott, and they come here. This is one of their regular venues.
Is that how important is that they're fishing at a regular venue?
It can be very important that they're going to learn all the moods of the water. They're going to, as Keith said earlier on, things change every time the wind changes or the sun comes out or it rains. The reactions of the fish to it is something they'll have learned. They'll know exactly whether the fish move in onto the shallower water when the wind starts to pick up, or when the rain stops and the sun comes out. The fish will change around and feed in slightly different spots. Nothing could be better than being a local and being able to cover those sort of eventualities and know them. It'll almost be like a habit to these guys. They won't even have to think about it.
This is Peter Lee, the current leader, but doesn't look, in truth, that he's got much to add to his £4 catch of earlier on, does it? So I think we may have a new leader coming up very shortly. Indeed. How much would that weigh, would you reckon, Keith?
Oh, there's 1.5 ounces there, I would think. 2 ounces top sides.
Better than nothing.
Yeah. Better than the poking yard with a stick.
So Peter Lee was the leader at the end of the first weigh-in, but just looking at those pictures, on the evidence of that, it might be a shade surprising if he's the leader at the end of the second weigh-in.
Ken Farrell's had a big half hour. Now he overtakes Peter Lee. Still 4 hours to go, however. No big catches landed yet. Consistent catches among the top 8. The high peg numbers certainly paying off at the moment. 13, 14 and 15. Down at the bottom, though, 3 anglers still drawing blank after 1 hour of FishOMania 3.
I wonder if a lifetime's ambition is about to be fulfilled today.
He's just concentrating so hard, he's willing those fish onto the hook. You can see he's really there.
Well, it seems that the bait's working well. The last weigh-in for Ken Farrell was £3, 3 ounces, putting him into the lead with £4.9. Let's have a look at what he's doing now. Ken, it seems to be working well, the bait.
Yep, I've got not a special bait, but someone gave me some bait the day as I left to come up here, and it's working more than anything else I'm putting on the hook.
What is it?
I'll tell you at the end of the match. This is an Andy and Jennings wind-up, this one, but this is, I've definitely got something.
There's been some winding up going on between you and Simon Wheeler next, but he's not catching what you're catching.
No, I think it's probably because of the bait I've got.
Now, you've qualified 3 times. This is the 3rd time, and the odds are 10 to 1. I can't believe it. I thought they'd be a little bit shorter than that. Have you had a bet on yourself?
No, I've not had a bet. I'm a bit superstitious on this one. I just want to win it and get the title.
You just want the 25,000, don't you?
No, I'm not worried about it.
What about in the qualifiers? Did you have a bet then?
No, none of those. That's what's made me not bet today.
And a big catch for you for the qualifying, though?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the qualifiers. I enjoyed all those. They all went my way, and most of them did.
What do? You spend your time, you're retired now, so you spend an awful lot of your time fishing now, don't you?
Yeah, not all every day, but sort of virtually every other day at least. As long as it's a match, I'll be out on it.
Well, let's see if you keep your nose in front, and best of luck for the next few hours.
Yeah, thank you.
And you saw Ken getting his bait there from A1 Angling in Woodford, where apparently they set up a TV so they can watch FishOMania today, and they'll be cheering Ken along at the moment, and they've got plenty to cheer about, haven't they? He's doing fantastically well. How can it be, fellas, that there he is on peg 15, and next to he's catching, and Simon Wheeler's next to him and isn't really?
Well, Simon's had a few fish. He's got the disadvantage of having a celebrity the other side of him, so he's got a massive crowd behind Simon, and that's possibly driving the fish Ken's way. But Ken looks so relaxed, doesn't he? He really looks relaxed. He's enjoying the day.
Let's take time out now to have a look at some of the fish that those anglers are hoping to land here at Hallcroft Fisheries in Nottinghamshire.
There's Steve Ringer, and we heard from Steve Ringer just a moment or two ago. And here's his latest effort. Looks reasonably healthy, Keith?
Yeah, there's a couple of pound there. Decent, well, 2 skimmers, one's a bit bigger than the other.
Steve Ringer out on peg 5.
Peg 5, Mick.
I wonder...
1 pound, 12 ounces.
Can we look, Reed?
Yeah, £1 4 ounces.
Yeah, £1 4.
So he'll be moderately pleased with that, will he?
Yeah.
But what about the leader, Ken Farrell? Well, the leader after the second weigh-in. I wonder he'll be the leader after the third weigh-in. There we are, a study of concentration, really, isn't he?
Well, he's not worried what anybody else is doing. He's fishing his own match. And he's got the nice little wind-up going about his special bait. And that'll be going along the bank, and everybody will have heard something, and they'll all be thinking.
Absolutely motionless, isn't he?
The third leaderboard, 90 minutes gone. Ken Farrell has extended his lead, exactly £1 ahead of Lee. Steve Michaels in third, but really another tight finish on the cards for the UK's premier angling event.
And Steve Ringer's on peg 5. And these are his details. Just 20 years old. It's quite an achievement, isn't it, Keith, for a 20-year-old to be in the final of FishOMania?
Look at that, fishing for 15 years. At 20, he's a veteran, isn't he? 20-year-old veteran.
Yeah, he must have started with one of those nets in the park pond, though, surely.
No, you see some youngsters nowadays with bits and pieces of tackle, and at 7 and 8, some of them are pretty astute anglers.
Steve Ringer, still just 20, and a veteran of 15 years. Comes from Ravensthorpe in Northants, and, well, not married, hasn't got any children, hasn't got any time for things like that, obviously, because he spends most of his life fishing, and says that his favourite angler, not surprisingly, is Bob Nudd. Bob Nudd, he wouldn't be the only one.
Be very
Bit quiet out there at the moment for him, though.
Be a very eligible bachelor with 25 grand in his back pocket, though, wouldn't
he just? Yeah, absolutely.
I could fancy him myself.
Yeah. Just looks as if things are a bit quiet for him, though, at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's said earlier he's not expected to catch fish in the first half of the match. He's looking to make an attack in the last half. He's waiting for some bigger fish, probably bream, to settle down over his bait.
Andy, he's peg 5 is Steve. Would you be happy with peg 5?
Yes, yeah. 3, 4 or 5. Yeah, because they are pretty good pegs, and we've won a lot of club matches. Well, we've won a lot of open matches. There's a lot of fish there, a lot of fish.
That's the overview of the Hallcroft Fisheries, which is where we are today. Thankfully, a sunlit Hallcroft Fisheries, and, well, decent crowd beginning to build up. That's David Legg on peg 1 at the moment. And plethora of equipment and plenty of spectators enjoying a little sit in the sunshine as well. Didn't look like it was going to be that bright earlier in the day. And you can see there's young and old here today to watch FishOMania 3. I'm sure they're all having a good day. We saw Dave Legg's equipment there momentarily, Keith. And I was astonished to see the price of some of this stuff. It's amazingly expensive.
It's high-tech equipment, it's space-age materials you're dealing with. There's not many of them made, these very, very long poles, and it's the law of diminishing returns. The less you make, the more expensive each one is. You can spend up to £8,000 on the very most expensive pole, but most of these anglers are fishing with poles that will cost between £2,000 and £4,000, and some of them might have two. Plus all the rods and reels.
I was going to say, Andy, it's not just the poles, is it? It's all the other things that go with it, whether it's the waterproofs and the nets and even the chair, you know, the seat that you're sitting on.
Yeah, it's all expensive.
My tackle box costs £420 and weighs £52 when I carry it along the bank. That's with no bait, that's just box and tackle. The bait's in another bag and the rods are in another bag. Just the box weighs £52.
Yeah, I thought the biceps were bulging a bit there, Keith. It's obviously with carrying them off to matches. Peter Lee. Well, so good they named a town after him in the northeast. Comes from Kettering and going well at the moment. 52 years old and been fishing for 40 years. But he's never been in that position before, leading FishOMania III at this stage. And he's 15 ounces ahead now, having leapt above Ken Farrell, and Dave Pimlott going well now from peg 7. Steve Ringer in 4th place with £4.11, joint with Simon Wheeler. Then comes Steve Michaels, all landed £4 plus. Colin Wilberforce, £3.13, so he's well in contention. Steve Walker is currently in 8th position. Now, down at the wrong end of the table, well, you can still see, desperately depressing, isn't it, for 8, 9 and 10. Phil Murphy has yet to land a fish, and Phil Clift and Simon Young on 9 and 10 are both struggling as well. There's Topper Haskins, by the way, in 10th position with £2 and 3 ounces at the moment from peg 12. Was the leader a little while ago, but has just slipped back a shade, but is still bang in contention at the moment, Ken Farrell.
Got a big fish on there. It's game on there. Got a quality fish on there. See the elastic coming out the end of his pole? That's either a good bream, a tench or a carp, but it's going to be lots of weight.
So he could very easily see him.
This could be back in
front.
Oh yeah.
What's he doing now?
He's just unshipped. He's just bringing the fish up to the surface. But the way it's going, it looks like it's a quality bream, probably £3 fish, I would think.
Andy, does the pulse start beating a bit faster at this stage?
Well, yes, yeah, because I think he's lying 3rd place. So if he gets this, he's going to be banging it. So he'll be scared to death now.
There is a long way to go, isn't there?
Yeah,
but Ken would be a popular winner, wouldn't he?
Oh, I don't think there's anybody here, including the other 15 contestants, that would not like to see Ken win it. Obviously, they all want to win it, but if they can't win it, I'm sure that Ken would be their second choice.
Well, all my customers are all going to back him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Been around on my circuit for a long while, Ken. I fish with Ken on the North and East London, and sometimes he travels to the South London circuit too. And he's always a popular bloke on the bank, and he's even in his canal fishing, he's very positive. If he thinks small fish are going to win it, then he will fish for small fish throughout. Nothing will sway him.
What's he thinking of at the moment? What's going through his mind at this stage?
Getting that net as quickly as possible, and only that. That is the only thing in his mind, is getting that fish on the bank.
Yeah, it's a dream.
Here we go, we're about to find out.
Look at that absolute concentration. Bring the fish to the net. I always start fighting when you don't want them to. We'll just roll up in a second. There it is.
Oh.
Ah, it's a tench, see? Is it a tench?
Yeah, I thought it was a carp.
No.
What sort of size would you say that was?
That's £4 there.
Yeah.
That's a carp, yeah.
It's a
Wow.
carp.
That just hasn't gone anywhere, has it?
No.
You saw Liz
Got
Hobbs
that in,
galloping in there
Yeah.
to get a word with Ken, so let's hear what Ken has to say.
That's putting him in the lead.
Cool as a cucumber as always.
Still staying there.
You've been a bit worried because you've not been catching.
No, it's been a bit dead. Maybe when carp have moved in, hopefully. I started using bigger baits, so...
And also a bigger float.
No, I changed back. I went out with a bigger float, but light was funny for me out there. I've just gone back onto a bigger bait now, but the same rig I started on.
Carp's still not biting.
So that was carp.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe they started now.
That's exactly what you wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah, really was.
OK, well done. We'll leave it to cast now.
Yeah, this is going to be a fair old wait, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Good fish there. Taking the scales round.
Can't quite hear how much that is, but it looks fairly substantial. Let's pop out and join Gary Norman.
Peg 1. It was all quiet on peg 1, but Dave Legg has just come good in about the past 15 minutes. There's a bream in this net, which we think's about £2. What was that weight? £3.10. So basically, he's sort of trebled his weight in about the last 10 minutes of that before that last weigh-in. They're catching bits and pieces on 2, 3, and 4, but Dave Legg has just sort of, as I said, trebled his weight in about 10 minutes. So he'll be persisting with the method he's using and hoping to do more or less of the same. He'll weigh in more about £5 now.
Yeah, things changing minute by minute by minute here at the Hallcroft Fisheries. And this looks like a pretty decent catch as well, doesn't it?
Few fish going in there.
Few fish. And this is, I think, the last peg to be weighed in this particular weigh-in.
Remember, that's just half an hour's fish have gone in that net.
To weigh.
Peg 4, mate, £2.8. £2.8.
£2 and 8 ounces. And that was peg 4, we believe?
Yeah, Steve Walker.
Yorkshireman.
Yeah, Yorkshireman.
Yeah.
Batley.
Yeah.
So £2 8 ounces at this stage. Very good for half an hour, isn't it? Puts you in contention if you can keep notching up the £2 8 ounces and perhaps occasionally produce a big one as well.
Yeah. That's a £20 total after 5 hours, isn't it? £2.5 an hour. You're going to get, you know, with a slow start, then build up, you get £2.5 every 30 minutes going in your net. You're going to finish up with £20, and as Andy said, that's not going to be far away from taking home a large portion of Barry Hearn's money.
The halfway stage of this 5-hour fishing spectacular, £25,000 the prize for the heaviest total. Farrell's lead now nearly £2 over Peter Lee. David Pimlott, another £2 back in third spot.
And there he is. Same pose, same position, 1 at the moment, and he's with Liz Hobbs.
It was a massive catch too. I was the only one who didn't see that carp. It was a carp, in fact, that was caught. And the total catch for this last weigh-in for Ken was £3 13 ounces, giving him a massive total now of £9 10. It was a great fish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's the fish I was looking for.
What carp was it?
It was a ghost carp. Only a small one, but it was big enough at the moment because it's fishing so hard.
Now, we've been talking about the carp waking up now with the sunshine and the water getting flat. Are they starting to bite, or has it gone quiet again?
I don't think they will till this evening. I think it's just odd fish moving around at the moment. I just see one rising the top of me swim there, about £2. So they're moaching around, but they might get their heads down.
But it's still bream in abundance here then?
I think at the moment, yeah, you're looking for bream.
Is that what you're really concentrating on, and then just hoping that there's going to be one big carp bites?
Yeah, I think that's the best thing. It is for me at the moment anyway. I'm picking up odd fish.
Well, the live peg seems to be yours and Peter's next to you.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a good area the way the wind was blowing at the start, and when it turned round I thought we was going to lose the fish, but they seem to have stayed in the area.
2 years gone, Ken. Is it third year lucky? You were on the next door peg last year and you ended up finishing 10th, didn't you?
Yeah, it was quite bad conditions last year. This year's totally different. It suits me.
Why?
It's windy. Actually, it suits me until that wind stops. Once the wind stops, it's just deadly out there.
Yeah. But I mean, you're certainly in the lead now, and it seems to be swapping between both you and Peter at the moment. I mean, are you fishing in similar ways?
I don't really know what he's doing. I'm just concentrating what I'm doing. I'm going to stick to this method all day, I think.
Are you confident?
I would like 2 more fish, I think. 2 good fish.
2 more big ones.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Ken.
Okay.
Let's take a look at what he's caught so far. 8 carp, 2 roach, 2 bream. Keith, he'd be pretty satisfied with that.
Oh, he'll be sitting pretty. He'll be absolutely delighted with that sort of weight at this stage of the match. He's got a real good foundation to build on there, and he won't care if it's small fish keep coming or if he can just wait for that bigger fish. He's got his game plan, as I said earlier, and he, as he said many times himself, is going to stick to it.
Do you tend to press the panic button if you don't catch for, say, 15, 20 minutes?
You try not to. Sometimes you can't help it. You'll switch to one of the other lines you've been feeding. But if you've got that really sound plan, like Ken has, you know in your own mind it's going to work. Why should you change to what somebody else is doing? If you've worked it out right, your plan's got to be better than theirs, hasn't it?
Let's take a look at the fella who's closest to him, both in competition terms and in terms of peg. There's Peter Lee, being absolutely in contention right from the start. He's on peg 14. Just the one carp so far, 3 roach and 5 bream. Do they set their stalls out in a different way, Keith, at the start of the day? Will some of them be specifically aiming for carp, some for bream, some for roach? Or is it a more general thing?
Yeah, I would go for a mixed bag. I'd look to get maybe bream on the bottom to start with by putting in some fairly heavy ground bait, then loose feed above that to try and get the roach and smaller bream to come up in the water. Then the bigger bream can sit on the cereal ground bait below until the carp come in and kick them off. The alternative method is to fish close in, and I noticed Simon Wheeler tried, just for a few minutes earlier, close into the reeds where some big carp cruise around, and you fish for those usually at Hallcroft with luncheon meat, and they will creep along that ledge near the edge and they'll just hoover up what's there. And if your bait's there at the time, that can be 7 or 8 pounds straight in the net.
I was just thinking, can you benefit by the guy next to you? He may be using a certain sort of bait. He attracts the fish for you, you catch them.
No, if he attracts them, they're going to stay in his peg where they're attracted. You hope you can attract more than him. That's the name of the game.
Well, the name of the game is winning here at FishOMania III today. And there's the man who's in 3rd spot, I believe, the last time that we weighed in, Dave Pimlett. Yet to strike a carp and 14 fish, and yet only in 3rd place. So he's actually got numerically well, most fish so far, but he needs a carp or 2.
Yeah, it would help him to get his 1 bonus fish. If he got that bonus fish now, a 3 pound or 4 pound fish, he'd be up in 1st place.
He really is the only guy in that particular area, though, of the fisheries who's doing well, isn't he? You know, you look at peg 6 and peg 8, and they've been struggling in comparison. Just explain to us about the catapult and such like.
Well, that's just loose feeding. He's probably feeding some casters or maggots there, and he's aiming to get them as near to his float as possible, so there's a constant stream of bait going down in the water. Any fish passing by will see the cloud of bait and home in on it. The good advantage that Dave's got, because he's a regular here, the others will come and practice isn't like fishing a match. If he's fished 10 matches here, he'll know how bad pegs respond, and he'll be able to make the best of a bad job.
Tell you what, Dennis the Menace Priestley would be at home with that catapult, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah, spot on every time.
Now then, another weigh-in is due. In fact, it's taking place at this very moment. Weigh-ins every half hour, right throughout the course of FishOMania III. Not sure whose latest amount that is. Well, let's take a look. Can we see that?
£2 something.
£2 something. Are we getting to the stage now where the guys are looking for the big one?
They're looking to consolidate what they've got. They're hoping a bonus fish will come along, but the last hour is really crunch time for the bonus fish, and it's noticeable now that most people are putting a few fish on the scales every time they go round. They've got their swims established, they've got their feed in, and the fish are responding to it. They now know there's a banquet down there waiting for them, and they're homing in with any luck from all parts of the lake.
We're just 2 hours from finding out who has won FishOMania III, and with it that cheque for £25,000.
Welcome back to FishOMania III, the 6th weigh-in, 2 hours to go, and still really anybody's title. Peter Lee, the 52-year-old from Kettering, now in top spot, 7 ounces ahead of Ken Farrell, nearly 2 pounds ahead of Walker and Pimlott. Bottom of the table there, well, you've got to feel sorry for Simon Young. Just 4 ounces after 3 hours of fishing. His dad's his hero, but his dad won't be too happy.
Peter Lee has edged his way back to the front. There he is on peg 14. Peg 14 and 15 dominating the action so far here at the Hallcroft Fisheries. But pegs 1 to 4, which we did think might do quite well, Keith, things aren't really happening for them.
They're making a bit of a comeback. If you look again at the leaderboard, David Legg is creeping up there. The only one really who's letting my predictions down is Peter Plant, and I thought Pete had a very, very good chance of winning FishOMania. He's an excellent angler, and I thought 1, 2, 3 and 4 were good pegs. Well, 1, 3 and 4 are certainly in the top half. If you just look in this area here, where we know the fish are, 13, 14 and 15. 14 and 15 are lying first and second. The wind has now changed again and is blowing right down the lake here and here, and that's putting a ripple in this area, and these people now are starting to catch. David Legg's definitely catching up on 1. What happens is the wind goes down here, hits the bank, and then the water turns back underneath, and it carries all the waterborne food with it, and that will attract fish into that area, the natural food.
What about the boys on 8, 9 and 10? What do they need to happen now to bring around such a change in fortunes that they could yet get involved?
It'd probably help if they knew which way to face. Facing east might help, a prayer to Mecca might do them some good, but Dave Pimlott in peg 7 here is really doing brilliantly. He's in the middle of sort of a dead area, and he's putting fish on the bank regularly, and it's his habit, not his habit, it's his regular attendance at Hallcroft that's giving him that edge. He knows what to do in a struggling peg.
I mean, the likes of Simon Young down on peg 10, it's almost getting to the stage, isn't it, where he's going to have to land orca to get in, you know, amongst the prizes.
Well, you've got to look on the bright side. He's doubled his weight from the last weight. He's gone from 2
ounces to 4 ounces. Yeah.
Every crowd has a silver lining.
Yeah, he'll be ecstatic with that, won't he? Steve Walker, now let's see what he is about to land. That's peg 4. Keith, what's this?
Looks like it might be a reasonable perch, then. It's either that or a roach. Come on, get in there, that's it.
David Legg, that's it looks a pretty significant amount in there, doesn't it? That's just half an hour's fishing, remember. And there's the weigh-in of it.
£3 odd.
3.5.
Yeah, more than £3. And it puts him bang right in contention, Keith, doesn't it?
Yeah. Those low numbers are coming good. Saw Peter Plant at a decent fish a few minutes ago. The low numbers, as the wind has got right for them again, the flows probably turn around going into the wind now, and the fish will just start to respond. It's where they want to be.
So after 7 weigh-ins, just 3 to go, Peter Lee is in a clear lead, over £1 ahead of Steve Walker. He's jumped into second place thanks to a haul of £2 1 ounce. Ken Farrell, though, slipping back to third, only 1 ounce in the past half hour. But Dave Pimlott still in contention.
It's Kenny, nice fish for Ken.
Yeah, it's Ken again, yes. Peg 15. Well, he was in third place at the last weigh-in, but that looks quite useful, doesn't it? Things change all the time. I wonder what he's feeling at the moment. He's been very stoic, hasn't he, and very calm, but the closer they get to the finish line and the fact that he is still bang in contention, he must be getting nervous.
He'll go up a gear. You will suddenly see him go up a gear. All anglers do it, and the good match anglers in the last hour of a match, they go up a gear. Everything happens faster. You're trying to make things happen quicker. You've not got the time to wait anymore. You've got to make every second count.
Off to peg 4 now. And here's Steve Walker. Let's see what he's got here.
That's a skimmer. Now, those 2 fish that we've just seen caught, both of those will make Steve Walker and Ken Farrell about equal with Peter Lee if he hasn't caught a fish. We're not talking it up here. It is that close. Another 3 ounces there for Dave Pimlott.
How regularly will he be pulling these in then? Obviously, it's every couple of minutes.
Sometimes he'll get probably spells of 2 or 3 fish in a minute, literally, and then they'll just go down, then they'll come back up, and it's in a fish cast for 2 or 3 casts, then a little wait, then some more. He's keeping that feed going in steadily. As I suggested, that's brought the fish up off the bottom from his ground bait, where they'd be more difficult to catch, into a position where you can catch them really quickly.
Well, he is catching them quickly,
yeah.
Almost too quickly for us to keep up with. Let's hope that George Gavin is keeping up.
There you go, Dave is still pulling all the fish in, but still all the little ones. Some big ones, though, behind him. He's got quite a gallery behind him as Dave Pimlott. This is the Dave Pimlott fan club over here. How's he doing? All right?
Yeah, brilliant. He's catching well now. A lot of small fish.
Trouble is, he needs one big one, doesn't he?
One big fish, yeah.
Yeah. He's a good angler, though, isn't he?
Yeah, it's very good.
You rate him?
Oh yeah, one of the best.
Good luck. Okay, that's Dave Pimlott's fan club for you.
Thank you very much indeed, George. And there he is. Well, this is a quiet spell for him. He hasn't pulled one in for, what, 30 seconds now? But I think that he'll be putting that right very shortly indeed.
There is?
Yep, there's another one.
That's a real small fish.
That is, yeah. I mean, how big is that? An ounce?
No, that's half an ounce.
Half an ounce?
Yeah, that's half an ounce.
So.
Vinny Smith there, just off screen, giving him a bit of tutoring, bit of coaching. Vinny's an England angler and been on the scene for a long, long time, and there's not many people with more experience of big events than Vinny. Comes from that part of the world.
You're picking up a few clues yourself here, are you, Keith? Because I know you're fishing here next Sunday, isn't it?
Next Saturday, the ACA Celebrity Masters. Yes, I'll be here. Unfortunately, I'm now relegated to the celebrity team. It used to be when I could get in one of the real top teams, but now I'm just a celebrity now.
Yeah, only 2 men will walk away with this event with Dosh. One of them is the bookmaker, and the other one, well, it could be this fellow, Ken Farrell. Here's some nice fish just being weighed in. The latest weigh-in every half hour throughout the afternoon. Not sure which peg this is at the moment, but...
It's £4 now. That's going to make a significant...
£4. Peg 11, that's Bob Shepherd.
Peg 11, £4.
Oh, well, there we are. They're just confirmation you heard. Peg 11, £4. These are getting to be crucial moments now. And this is Steve Walker. Remember, these are the fish that he's caught in just half an hour. This is just from half an hour's fishing. Let's see what Steve Walker's got here, because you remember our bookmaking friend was saying that Steve Walker winning would be a real result for him because there hadn't been much money for Steve, and he's coming up on the rails.
These are going on to £10. There's a little tension there. A couple of roach, a decent
What's the big one?
That's a bream.
Is that a bream?
Yeah, that's a bream.
I know the perch because they've got like a green stripe, haven't they? And
Yeah,
then the
spiky
roach,
roach,
yeah, the roach has got some red on it.
Yeah.
Well, just under £2 for Steve Walker, though. £1.13.
Takes him up to nearly £12.
The 4-hour mark, 2 weigh-ins left. That catch not enough to put Steve Walker into the lead because Ken Farrell's the new leader with a £2 haul in the past half hour, but just 1 ounce in it.
Ken has been there right from the start, and he led at the first weigh-in, or the second weigh-in, and he's never been out of the first 3. And his third FishOMania, it could really be a dream victory for Ken Farrell, but not if this fella has his say. Just 1 ounce behind now from the opposite side of the fisheries. Steve Walker from peg 4. And that's his highest position of the day. And he's coming strongly on the rails, just 1 ounce behind our leader, Ken Farrell.
It's interesting that the 2 leaders are so far apart in pegs. Is it peg 4 and peg 15?
Peg 4 and peg 15.
They're usually together.
So that's peg 5, that's Steve Ringer. But the fella next to him is the man who's really making a charge at the moment, and that's Steve Walker. He's fishing from peg 4, and Gary Norman is there too.
Well, I'll tell you what, you couldn't get any closer, could you? It's ounces in it. I'm going to creep in very carefully and talk to Steve Walker for the first time. Now, I mentioned earlier, you think you lost a £2 bream a while ago, didn't you?
Yep, certainly did. A big fish anyway, definitely a big fish. I just bumped another one now, probably about 6-7 ounces.
Just tell us, I mean, basically you've been fishing consistently the same way all day. Just tell us what you've been doing, what you've been feeding and what you've been using as hook bait.
It's basically just redworm chopped up, sometimes in ground bait, sometimes just neat, and then redworm on the hook, and just loose feeding an odd caster over the top. And they seem to like that redworm. They'll come to it eventually. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to come to it, but as you can see, they've come to it now.
The story with this type of fishing is little and often, all the time. Little and often, keep them interested, keep them there.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, little bits rather than one big lump and just sitting on it. Just keep it going in nice and steady.
Well, I know the odds weren't very good on you. Did you have a bet on yourself or not?
I didn't know. No, the odds were 7-2, so unless you're going to put a lot of money on it, really wasn't worth it.
Here we go, you're in now. I'll just take a step back. Steve Walker into a fish. I'll just see. It's off again. Another hook pull. This is getting crucial, this.
Fellow who's been landing lots of small fry is Dave Pimless. Now, is he about to be changing tactics? We're into the last 40 minutes. Is he looking for the big boys now?
Looking at how he's holding his pole, he's changed his tactics. If you remember when we saw him before, he was holding it across his thigh so he could strike and ship it back very, very quickly. Now he's got it firmly planted between his knees. He's looking to hold it steady. He's got that bait on the bottom, waiting for a bream, a tench or a carp, something that'll add appreciably to his weight.
Well, weigh-in's going on again, and, well, that looks pretty substantial, doesn't it?
It's a fair lump,
and it looks like, is that Steve Walker again?
It could well be.
But
saw him catch a decent bream just now. I didn't think it looked that big, though.
Yeah, looks pretty substantial. Well, this is the crunch, isn't it? Because we're at the penultimate weigh-in now.
There's one in there somewhere.
This is Bob Shepherd, peg 11.
Come out wherever you are.
Well, it was there. It's obviously got away, has it? It's escaped.
Want Mike McLean to get something out of there, don't they? Comedy magician of the
there it is.
Crucian carp. Lovely fish.
But unfortunately, it won't weigh enough, will it, really?
No.
6 ounces?
Yeah.
Let's go up to see what Peter Lee's got. Because Peter Lee has been in contention all day as well. Again, at this stage, it's going to be a disappointing amount, isn't it, really?
There's a pound something. He was just 12 ounces behind the leader. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's right.
Not even a big fish.
No.
It's the equivalent of a photo finish in horse racing, this, isn't it?
Definitely.
And it could be a 4 or 5 way photo finish as well.
Said earlier, it's going to go right to the very last 5 minutes, this man.
This is line abreast with a furlong to go.
Yeah.
All running downhill.
This could be so cruel on Ken Farrell, couldn't it? And his third FishOMania, and he's led or almost been in front virtually all the way. If he's pipped at the post, it'll be heartbreaking.
Heartbreak is the word that comes to mind, but he's still catching fishes. Only a small fish there, but he's still catching. Unfortunately, if you just look out to the side, it's gone very, very calm in that area, and that's just what you don't want.
You mentioned pressure earlier a couple of hours ago. I mean, when they were playing fish 2 hours ago, they were under pressure, but nothing like that under this last 25 minutes or so.
If you lose a fish now, you must be like throwing yourself in, I assume.
You wouldn't want a microphone anywhere near you for live television, let's put it that way.
Steve Walker now leading for the first time after 4.5 hours. After 9 weigh-ins, then Ken Farrell slipping further down to 5th. 23 ounces separating the top 5. Steve Ringer, the youngest contestant, pushing up to 2nd. It's a photo finish in fishing terms.
Well, things are getting really critical for Ken Farrell, aren't they, Keith?
Really is, but he's still just that one fish behind. They can come back. There's fish moving in his peg. He's back to his original game plan, and I still think it's a sound tactic to stick with what you know best.
The critical thing is now that the difference between catching a 6-ounce fish and a 10-ounce fish is going to be critical. And you can't decide what size fish you're going to catch. And an angler gets 2 10-ounce or 3 10-ounce fish in this last half an hour. That's a good fish.
That's a crucian, yeah.
That's a good fish.
10, 12 ounces there, Mark.
He's even Stephen again now.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an ounce difference again now.
No. Well, it's just unbelievable. You couldn't have planned anything better than this, could you? This is just absolute excitement. Never mind about 50, 60 pound catches. When everybody's on a level playing field, that's when the excitement comes into fishing. This, as Mark will confirm, is a proper fishing match.
And let me just put in, boys, because whenever Ken catches a fish, Liz Hobbs is close by, and that's the case again.
Ken's back in the running. Just as soon as you went for the weigh-in over the other side of the lake, Ken hooked one, and it was a crucian carp, yes?
Yeah.
How big do you think that was?
It might push a pound.
A pound? Is it going to be enough? Because we're over to up to 14 pounds on the other side of the lake.
14? Oh, that's a lot, isn't it? I don't think so.
You're about as worried as I heard you last night at the dinner.
Yeah. They like that.
They do, they like this. You can't see what I can see here. It's going to be a tight one, isn't it, going into the last hour?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Still confident you can win, Ken?
I'm just going to plod away and see what happens.
OK, we'll leave you to it.
All right.
And let's just try and put this in perspective. It's not like other sporting events when the winner takes the bulk of the prize money and the second person takes away a reasonable purse and the third person also earns a decent amount. Here, the winner takes the full £25,000, but second and third get absolutely nothing apart from the pleasure of having taken part. On peg 4 from Batley, Steve Walker bidding to make it another Yorkshire victory. Next to him, the youngest man in the competition, 20 years of age, from Northamptonshire, Steve Ringer. On peg 7 from Manchester, Dave Pimlott, the Bolton Wanderers fan. He could have something to celebrate today. In peg 14, Peter Lee. He's been there or thereabouts right throughout the competition, comes from Kettering, could be taking the big prize home. And the man from Chingford, in his third FishOMania final, Ken Farrell, has been in the first 3 throughout, but now has slipped back to 5th, but is still within one good fish of taking the prize. And that is the scene. It really is incredibly tense. And it's interesting, isn't it, Keith, that it's actually gone pretty quiet out there now. I think everybody appreciates just what a critical state we're in.
Everybody's holding their breath, and at the moment we've got Steve Walker and Pete Lee both playing fish. So it's still just changing the whole time. We've seen Ken Farrell catch 3 fish since the last weigh-in.
It's good fish from Pete, that.
That's a pointer. There's some fish there.
I think there's something we should point out here as well, to people at home, that fish must be landed. They must be in the net when the whistle blows, or they won't count.
That's right, they've got to be in the landing net. In normal open competitions, you've got 15 minutes after time to play fish. That doesn't happen in FishOMania. It's sudden death. It's in the net or it doesn't count. It's all happening. It really is all happening.
What's the seconds countdown? This is going to be critical now.
Who's got the stopwatch?
Yeah, we're certainly into the last couple of minutes now.
By the way he's bringing that in, can't be long to go.
Ken's got his fish.
Ken's got another one. Remember, each of these fish now...
Three of the leaders have all caught fish in the last 15 seconds.
Each of these fish could be worth £25,000. We're into the last 15 seconds now. And all that will remain is for the counting to be done, the totting up to take place. And we'll know the FishOMania 96 winner. And there it is. That is FishOMania 96. But who will be walking away with the cheque? It's so close that we do not know.
A few minutes later, though, we did know. This is how the leaderboard read after 5 hours of concentrated angling. Only 6 ounces covering the top 3, less than a pound separating the top 5. And Dave Pimlott's whopping £2 in the last half hour gave him a come-from-behind win. Young Steve Ringer had £1.5. Ken Farrell, 3 times a finalist, settling for 5th place. But FishOMania is a winner-take-all event, with a cheque for £25,000. And that meant that 34-year-old Dave Pimlott from Redcliffe in Manchester was king of the water, the 1996 winner of FishOMania.